The story of inner freedom. A quiet afternoon. One quiet afternoon, Alex, a successful entrepreneur, sat silently in the garden behind his house. The gentle breeze blew through the trees, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. While the world saw Alex as a successful person, deep down, he often felt unsettled. Thoughts and fears along with the desire to control everything surrounded him, making life seem like an endless race. The pinnacle of success had never brought him true satisfaction, only stress and emptiness. Gazing at the deep blue sky where the white clouds drifted by, Alex recalled a recent conversation with Sophie, a dear friend with whom he often shared his worries. It was a conversation that had changed his perspective on ego and the constant desire to control every aspect of life. A few days earlier, on a rainy afternoon, Alex and Sophie sat in a small cafe. He didn't hesitate to share his tangled thoughts with her. "Sophie, I can't stop thinking about work," Alex said with a worried expression, his fingers tapping lightly on the table out of habit. "I'm always afraid of losing everything. This success never seems to be enough. I always want more, but the harder I try, the more tired and restless I feel." Sophie listened intently, her eyes gentle and full of understanding. "Alex, I understand that feeling. But have you ever thought that it might be your ego keeping you living in fear?" She smiled softly, her voice calm. "The ego always wants to control, always fears losing. But when you let go of the ego, you will find true freedom." Alex looked at Sophie, his eyes surprised by her words. Hesitantly, he asked, "Let go of the ego? What do you mean?" Sophie gently explained, "The ego makes us believe that we must control everything, that success and safety must be in our own hands. But in truth, that's an illusion. As long as you chase control, you will live in fear. But if you learn to let go of the desire to control, let go of the fear of losing, you'll find things aren't as heavy as they seemed before." Alex was silent for a while, his eyes focused on the coffee cup on the table. He began reflecting on what Sophie said. Over the years, he had allowed his ego to dictate all his decisions and control his way of life, causing constant worry and insecurity. Despite appearing to have achieved everything, inside he still felt empty, unable to find peace. He pondered, "But how can I let go of my ego, Sophie? It seems to have become a part of my life." Sophie smiled kindly, with eyes full of empathy. "You can start by accepting that not everything is under your control, and it doesn't have to be. View life like a river. If you relax and let the current carry you, you'll find you don't need to swim against it. Happiness and peace come when you learn to live in acceptance and surrender." Now, sitting in the quiet garden, Sophie's words echoed in Alex's mind. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath to feel the slow, gentle rhythm of his breathing. In that moment, he understood that all the previous stress and anxiety stemmed from the ego, the self that always wanted control and was never satisfied. When he opened his eyes and looked at the continuously blue sky, he felt a lightness he hadn't known before. Alex knew that he had begun the journey of letting go of fear, letting go of the desire to control everything. Gradually, he realized that when no longer driven by the demands of the ego, his life became more peaceful and free. Not long after that conversation, Alex found himself with a cup of coffee again, but this time it was on a rainy day. The sound of the rain outside matched the flow of his thoughts. Regret began to envelop Alex as he thought about the years gone by, the time he let his ego drive his life. After a period of silence, Alex sighed, his voice choked with long-buried regret. "Sophie, the more I think about it, the more I realize I've made myself a slave to control. I always wanted everything to go my way, to be perfect, and that made me lose many important things." He paused, looking at the cup of coffee as if to gather the burdensome memories in his mind. "I remember the days running the company. I never allowed myself to step back, nor made any mistakes. There were always strict expectations for myself and my team. I demanded they complete everything on time and without flaw, and I never fully trusted anyone. I always thought that if I didn't supervise, everything would fall apart." He lowered his head, his eyes reflecting sadness. But the worst part was not realizing that this control pushed everyone away and kept me living in constant tension. Sophie continued to listen in silence, her eyes filled with compassion. Alex's voice softened, as if confessing sincerely, "I used to control my family too. I wanted everything in the house to be perfect, from the kids getting high grades to my wife being the ideal model. Anything beyond my control would irritate and disappoint me. I thought I was doing the best for them, but now looking back, I see I was wrong. I didn't give them the space to live freely and flourish." Alex looked at Sophie, his eyes a mix of sadness, as if submerged in regretful memories. "I lived too many years in the fear of losing control, afraid of losing success, losing recognition. I was chasing fame and status without understanding that I was losing core values, meaningful moments with my family." He sighed, a faint sad smile appeared. "The more I tried to control, the less freedom I felt. All I achieved was loneliness and exhaustion." Sophie nodded gently, empathy clear in her eyes. "Alex," she said softly, "the important thing is that you've realized it. From now on, you can start letting go of the ego and find true freedom. It doesn't mean giving up all responsibility, but knowing that not everything is within your control." Alex was silent for a while, feeling relief gradually seep into his mind. He straightened up, his gaze becoming calmer. "Yes, I think I understand now. I will learn to let go, to live more freely, not free from responsibility, but free from the fears and constraints the ego has created for so long." He smiled softly, feeling like an invisible burden had been lifted. Sophie smiled back, satisfaction shining in her eyes as she saw the change in her dear friend. "Alex, you're on the right path. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to practice letting go. When you stop clinging to control, you'll find life truly light and meaningful." Over time, Alex gradually applied what he learned from Sophie and began to change his way of living. At work, he delegated more to his team, no longer feeling the need to supervise every step as before. He started trusting his employees' abilities and let them make their own decisions. As a result, the work flowed more smoothly, his colleagues felt trusted and more comfortable, and his relationships with them improved. On the family front, Alex loosened the high expectations he had placed on his wife and children. Instead of demanding his children to achieve high grades, he encouraged them to explore and discover personal interests. He spent more time listening and understanding his wife's feelings without trying to mold her into the image he once expected. Their relationship became more connected, filled with respect and love instead of pressure and expectations. In social relationships, Alex no longer sought recognition from others as he once did. He didn't need to appear perfect or flaunt his achievements during gatherings. Instead, he learned to listen and share sincerely with friends, forming deeper and more reliable connections. Alex's journey was not an overnight process, but step by step, he felt peace and freedom gradually becoming present in his life. Each day, he slowly broke free from the cycle of control that the ego created, slowed down, and enjoyed the moments he previously overlooked. One beautiful morning, Alex sat sipping tea on his porch, the warm sunlight spreading across the lush green garden. He looked up at the clear blue sky and smiled. Now, he no longer felt the need to control everything. What once worried him, the endless desires, all were now part of the past. He had learned to let go, learned to live gently with himself and the world around him. Sophie visited in the afternoon, her radiant smile evident as she saw Alex looking more peaceful and comfortable than ever. "You look completely different from the first time we talked in that cafe," Sophie said with pride in her eyes. "Have you found true freedom?" Alex replied with a smile, "Yes, I've learned to let go and stop trying to control everything. And now, I feel freer than ever. Not free from responsibilities, but free from the fear of losing control." Alex had truly found peace and freedom through letting go of his ego. This journey not only brought him tranquility but also helped him rebuild relationships around him, from family and friends to work, with an attitude of acceptance and relaxation. The freedom he once craved did not come from power or external achievements, but from his own ability to let go within. Author, Kindness.